Hello and welcome to another episode of Build Paint Play. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jake, and this week we're going to be joined by
Josh. Woo! Oh, which way? There we go. I should have planned that before.
I got it right.
You got it right. I got it wrong this time. I felt very Jake. Hey Josh, how you doing?
Good, guys. Thank you very much again for having me on today.
Excellent. No, it's definitely cool. So Josh from the Crown of Command podcast and Evie-led painting services, painting studio. But yeah, so we are going to be talking all things 90s, I guess, which is Josh's passion for some of the older systems of Warhammer, the older miniatures, older painting styles. We've got loads of cool photos that he sent through for us to have a look at and chat about, which will be super cool. We'll say hi to some folks in the chat. We've got Scott here. Mel here is saying, come on, Dave, push the button. I was trying to, but Jake was talking.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
It's true. It is what you do. Everybody should know that by now. Patrick says the suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Maybe.
That's a very, when I read that, it was like, oh, feels like very Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka kind of vibe there. Chris is here. Carl is here. Excellent. Hi, Mel. And Jez is here. Fantastic. We are excited to see some other folks. Let's jump into talking about stuff.
Josh, before we get rolling, I do have a question.
Sure, mate. Go for it.
I'm assuming that you are at least 10 years younger than Dave and I.
I was going to say older.
Really? How old are you?
I'm going to be 50 this year, mate.
Okay, so we're all like, I'll be 49 this summer.
All right. Yep.
He's a little bit older
already. So
yeah, like I was just curious because like again, looking at your studio behind you, it is a trip. It's like I'm reading White Dwarf from back in the day.
Yep.
Sorry, someone's calling my cell phone. I was like, it's never happened before on the show. And like a lot of these boxes, I was like, I remember stocking some of these. Like,
oh, wow.
I definitely had that Warhammer box set that's behind you.
Oh, really? Yep.
And I remember seeing copies of, like, obviously we had that Blood Bowl on the shelf at GW when I was there in the early 2000s, because again, it was like it's the only like real version of the game. But yeah, it's an absolute trip. Like, is there specifically like bookends that you look for? Like, you don't do anything earlier than this and you don't do anything later than this? Or is it more like a sort of a soft gradient of like where it kind of wears out?
Well, that's a good question because, you held up the 3rd edition Blood Bowl Codex before. I've never played 3rd edition 40K. I sort of started at 3rd edition Fantasy, stopped at 5th edition Fantasy and 2nd edition 40K. So it's that sort of time period in Games Workshop I really love the most.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. We were actually looking at last night I was on a podcast and I was doing a gaming stream with a bunch of my friends, and at the end of the stream, Joe Borowski, I don't know if you know him from Death Ray Designs. We've had him on before, super nice guy. But he has this itch to build an old Talarn guard army. And all those boxes are like on the wall. It's that same time period. And I was like, there's not a lot. He's like, I thought there's a bunch of stuff. And I was like, there's like 14 models. He's like, really? I was like, there's the squad of 10 guys. There's the 2 weapon team squads.
Yep.
There's the lieutenant. There's
Al-Raham.
Yeah, Al-Raham, that like their general, and then there's the 2 different Rough Rider bodies, and that's it. There's no other Talarn stuff. And he's like, oh, I was like, but nowadays like there's so many cool things like the Victoria Lamb stuff, like her new Rough Riders, and she does her, I think they're called Desert Scorpions, which are they're much more in line now, like true scale, like the scaling is really good. He's like, yeah, I kind of have an itch to do the old Talarn stuff, and I was like, well, when we're at Adepticon, we can go through all the bits boxes and see if we can find those 14 models. But it's a trip. What are the ones you have up on the wall? The ones with the yellow bars?
Oh, okay. So that might be Man of War. Is it Man of War you're referring to in this case here?
No, to your right. The box is on the wall.
Oh, these up here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the Space Wolf boxes. We've got Wolfgate, Bloodcord, Longfangs, Grey Hunters. Now on the other side, you can't see that though. I don't think. If I can turn my camera up, you can see all the undead boxes up there.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Wonderful commission for David in the US in Florida, doing a 4th edition undead army, and all of it was basically in boxes on sprue and everything. All the skeletons were immaculately preserved over all that time.
That's so good.
So yeah, mate. So basically, I've got a shrine. Basically, it's a homage to gaming. Really, this room.
I think the oldest box I can think of that I remember seeing in the stores was when I got promoted and got my first store. There was an original box, like the original packaging of the Sisters of Battle. I don't even think they were called Seraphim at the time. I think they were just called Jump Troops, but it was it's the sisters with the little jump angel backpacks.
Yep.
It's the 5 metal ones that are on like bits of metal.
That's right.
There's no flying stand. They're just like on, they're like extended slaughter bases, but it was the original artwork. So when you looked at the wall, it was like, whoa, what's that weird looking box? But that was the oldest thing that we like inherited that was still like in the store.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you got some great stuff though. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, lots of good memories here. And at the end of the day, I suppose this is really a lot of good memories for people from this period, like Dave and yourself, and a lot of guys, part of this group as well. But, for a lot of other people, for a lot of younger guys in our Crown of Command group as well, they're kind of curious about it because, they weren't around when this stuff was out. So they're like, oh, wow, this looks really colorful and the models look really cool and, characterful. And, so they're kind of curious because a lot of people and a lot of the younger generations, they've never seen lead models. They've never seen metal models, only plastics. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that curiosity that leads them down this rabbit hole of 90s games, I think, maybe. Well.
I definitely started with metal models. Like Dave and I've talked about this before. I got started with like Ral Partha, like Dungeons and Dragons metal minis.
Cool.
But they weren't even models. They were minis. Like you didn't build them. They just came in like a clamshell pack and you painted them. And when I got into this, it was the Rogue Trader Space Marine box, and that's kind of how I got into Games Workshop stuff. But I mean, I was blown away. Like I was buying them thinking these are Space Marine models. I'll just take them out and they'll be all set. And I had built model kits. Like, I always tell people like the USS Enterprise was like my favorite model kit when I was a kid. I built like 3 of them. So I was like, oh, these will be Space Marines. And then I opened it up and I was like, oh, I have to build these guys. Like these are tiny models. So it was wild. But yeah, I think to this day, I think my favorite metal model of all time is probably either the Green Knight or the Hell Cannon.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. Yeah, the Green Knight's a beautiful model. I remember painting that way back when it was released. And yeah, it was just a gorgeous figure that I think I don't know what happened to it. I think it maybe sold it or gave it away. I think I swapped it for something. That's right.
Same. Like I had one too and I had no idea where it is. I was like, it's like one of the few metal models. I was like, man, I love this model. I was like, I have no idea where it is.
Yeah. It's a shame, isn't it? Yeah.
It's probably on somebody's shelf somewhere that somebody probably took it out of the case when we were closing the Natick store, and it's in somebody's collection now. But
yeah, I remember the 5th edition Warhammer box, which is the one you've got on the wall there, just above your head. Is I was in Adelaide, so we just opening Games Workshop Adelaide. I was there as the store opening manager, so I was hiring people, training them up, that kind of thing. And the box arrived, and I think we had 3 days to paint all the skinks, all the lizardmen, all the Bretonians, to get them ready for the
3
launch.
days.
Yeah,
it was pretty fierce, but yeah, we managed it. We got it done. There was lots of blue spray and washes and stuff like that, but.
Remind me that one's what? That's Undead and Skaven?
No. Bretonians and Lizardmen.
Oh, Bretonian and Lizardmen. Okay.
I don't think we had it. There hasn't been a Skaven core box. Oh wait, no, there was Island of Blood.
Island of Blood with Isles and Skaven. Yeah.
Isles and Skaven.
Yeah. Just to let everybody know, like all these boxes on the wall, all the miniatures in my cabinets, everything I painted, I did in the last 4 or 5 years. Because
crazy.
Because when I came to Japan, I was like massively into Infinity. Infinity was my main game. I played it for like a decade, loved it. Just lived and breathed Infinity, painted all the models, did it for commission work, collected my big Aleph army and that kind of thing. And we started doing a community, like trying to build a community here in Japan when I got here of Infinity players, both Japanese and expats living here. Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't until a lucky dip in the gaming store when me and a friend were thinking about entering Warhammer again, but with Warhammer Roleplay. I think the second edition of Warhammer Roleplay.
Right.
And there was a lucky dip, and in the lucky dip, they had all these little blister packs or little, cellophane packs of miniatures. And he pulled one out and he said, "Oh, look, Josh is a dwarf troll slayer, like one of the old Marauder Demon Slayer models." And I said, "Oh, cool, yeah, okay." I haven't painted a Warhammer model in years, And the first thing I noticed was it's all one piece. There's no bits to put together. It's like the assembly dream, right? You just put on the base and spray it, and away you go. And that was basically the catalyst of everything. And then after that, it was just pouring thousands of dollars and collecting and buying all the old stuff again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
awesome.
luckily, there was a guy here, James, that had the original box set of 5th edition shrink wrap and the Magic set and shrink wrap in storage because he's a US serviceman serving here in Japan. And I was lucky enough to buy them off him at a very reasonable price, and that sort of started everything. That sort of started the Crown of Command, if you like. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is super cool.
That's crazy.
Great. Just in the chat there, we've got Mel is pointing out that that all the current reviewers should hit like.
Yes, please. Yeah, please hit the like. The like spike. That's it, Mel. That's the one.
And Jez says, "I started just as the slaughter bases came in. I was there, Gandalf, 6,000 years ago in the mid '80s." Scott says, "I recognize Josh's accent. I believe he was originally from Tennessee." It's not Tennessee, that's Southern Kentucky.
From Dave Land. Yeah.
I always say, Josh, that I'm from the deep south.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's how you get away with it, mate. Okay. Yeah, I am Australian. For anybody who's curious, I'm the madman in Japan with a paintbrush in hand. And so originally from Australia, but came to Japan about 10 years ago. So, and loving it.
What took you to Japan?
My wife, mate.
Okay,
it was a big choice.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
I'm going to live in Australia. I'm going to live in Japan. I thought, well, I've lived in Australia all my life. I want to go and experience something different and a different culture, and and just seemed more interesting to me. And before then, I've already been to Japan a few times and just fell in love with the place. And I thought, let's give Japan a try. Haven't conquered the language, but I love the culture and people and the lifestyle here. So yeah, nice. Maybe Dave settled in the US for the same reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I also have not mastered the language, but
pretty good though. Pretty good. Dave's like 80% passable.
80% there. Fantastic. Thanks, mate.
Oh, my good friend David Schooley's here. That's the gentleman I paid. My good friend I painted all that undead stuff for. Cool. He's got that now in the US, putting it into glass cabinets as we speak. So that's nice that he came along.
Excellent. Welcome, Dave. Good to have you here. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's jump into some photos, and we'll have a look at some things. First up.
Do you want to do photos? Or do you want to do hobby stuff? Like, what are you working on?
Well,
is this what Josh has been working on?
No. This is leading into hobby stuff.
Oh, okay.
So because I've got photos of your hobby stuff.
Oh, but before we do that, did we?
This is brought to you by the
we're going to be,
it's all built in. I love it. It's awesome.
I like to make it easy for myself to remember.
It's one big all you can eat salad bar, whatever you want out of it.
Yep, exactly. So the first photo we have is of Adam Abramovich from the Army Painter. So
repping us hard. I love it.
Yeah, this is great. Adam's outside taking a walk with his daughter. Down in Louisiana, you can tell it's nice and warm there because he's wearing shorts. Bastard. But wearing his BuildPaintPlay T-shirt, which is
nice.
Super cool.
Very nice.
Down in the notes below, you can find a link to the what are you pointing at, Jake?
The list down below.
More down below. There we go.
I need to order one. Cool. I like that.
Anyway, down in the notes below, there's a link to the Alpha Omega Hobby web store where you can place an order for a wonderful BuildPaintPlay T-shirt of your very own. If you are outside the country, contact Jake, because apparently the shipping automatically defaults to a really stupid number.
Yeah, it's kind of bonkers. So
Jake can get you sorted out with an actual number.
yeah, and also I'll be doing a big. I'm going to add a bunch of product tonight. Right now, some of the sizes are sold out, but I have a new batch coming in the next like 10 days. So if you've placed an order, or if you want to place an order, if you wait like 24 hours, it'll all be updated with. I mean, you can look right now. A bunch of the sizes are still in stock, but if your size is out of stock, just give me 24 hours and it'll be back in stock.
Yep. Exactly. Sorry, I just noticed that Scott had said, should Josh figured if the spiders and spiders and Wasteland Raiders couldn't get him, then ninjas and Godzilla wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Very true, that.
And yes, Matt, that is Adam supporting his family and his found family here.
Very
Excellent.
nice.
And Jazz will be grabbing one later on. Very cool. Next up in the thing. So at this point in the show, we talk about hobby that we've done. We're going to move on to Jake. I'm going to mute myself because I've got a coughing fit coming.
Sure. So I'm working on my flesh eaters, obviously. So I'm trying to knock out the last of my army. I've got about maybe a half done. So these are 2 scratch built sanguinary priests. The only sanguinary priest models that exist right now is the old firstborn model, and I have one, and it's a great sculpt, but he looks like a child who is out with a bunch of adults when I put him with this army. So I was like, I can't do that. I have 2 halves of the Leviathan box, and the army list that I made, I don't run Stern Guard. So the torso and legs of these models are Stern Guard, and then I basically stole bits and converted everything else. So the guy on the right, that's the apothecary head from the Leviathan box. That's just like one of the assault intercessor arms for his left arm. His right arm in the backpack is from the actual sanguinary priest model. And then I put there's some other purity seals and stuff on him. And then the guy on the left, same thing. It's a Stern Guard body. And then I'm going to paint up the ammo drum that's on his hip. That's supposed to be the Stern Guard with the heavy bolter. I'm going to paint that up so it looks like it's got like it's a little refrigeration unit. So like that's where he keeps Gene Seed. And then that's the right arm from the Gravis Apothecary. And then it's a left arm from, I think, just an old school like 40K Apothecary. And then I cut him at the wrist and gave him a chainsword. That's one of the Blood Angel shoulder pads with the vials. And then I used the Blood Angel standard on top of his backpack just to draw attention to him because he doesn't have the headlight backpack. And then that's one of the heads from I think that's from the Sanguinary Guard sprue, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were really fun to make. Like it was a lot of like cutting and sort of shaving plastic just to make everything sit right. But they were I'd like, this was always my favorite part of the hobby, was converting models. And it's a lot harder to do now with everything being kind of monopose and selected. But this was easy. I was like, I have so many bits. I just gotta like figure out like what I want and then get all the pieces. So
Yeah,
that looks super cool.
Thanks,
Matt
man.
Bolt says, Jake, it's nice to see you've got your bartender done.
Yeah. You have to be 210 years old to drink from that chalice.
Awesome. Next up, we have
My lieutenants. So same thing. I needed 2 lieutenants, and they both have to have power fists. So the one power fist on the left, and again, these are made again with the Stern Guard bodies. So they're the guy on the left, that right arm and the body are from the Stern Guard kit, and then the power fist and the mohawk are like additional pieces. The power fist is from the assault intercessor sprue. I had to file it a little bit again because it was a monopose model. I had to get it to fit right. But it was pretty easy. And then I think that shoulder pad is from one of the old like veteran boxes, or I think it's from the old Vanguard veteran box.
Okay.
And then the guy on the right, that the power fist and the studded shoulder pad are from the old like Jess Goodwin tactical marine box, I believe. The fist, I think, is from the Devastator box.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I don't remember where I got that plasma pistol. I think that might be because it's a cybernetic arm from like the elbow down, but it's a Primaris arm. And I was like, I don't remember what box that came in. I want to say it was I think it's the old Commander box.
Okay.
But I don't remember. But yeah, they were fun. And then I think the guy on the right, his mohawk is from Cybor, and the one on the left, I think that's a Puppets War mohawk. But all my lieutenants have the standard mohawk. All my sergeants have transverse mohawks.
Cool. Yeah, that's a fun way to denote them on the tabletop.
Yeah, it was fun. And I'm going to use all like Latin terminology. So instead of a captain, I have a legate, and then instead of lieutenants, I have tribunes, and then instead of sergeants, I have centurions.
Cool.
But yeah, they were fun. Yeah, and I love this guy. So that's just the relic shield captain from the Indomitus box, I think.
Yeah.
And then he's a super easy conversion. I used one of the 2 different platforms he comes with, because I didn't want him to look like he's standing on like a mountaintop. Like I didn't go the Jeff Smith like tactical rock route. Like I was like, I'm just gonna have him I wanted him to kind of fit in with the army. He's still noticeably bigger. But the shield was a little too much. I basically shaved off the dead Marine where we talk about this all the time, where it's like, oh yeah, that's Battle Brother Steve. I just taped him to the front of my shield. So I shaved off the body, and I kept like the scroll work down the bottom, and I have just like a skull there that I'm going to paint up and make it look like a relic. And then I put a big Flesh Eater badge like where the logo would be. And then I think that's the Dark Angel. Yeah, that thing. I was like, nope.
Right.
So I shaved off all the body and the legs hanging down the bottom. And I think that helmet is from that's from like the Dark Angels. It might be the Vengeance box, the old Dark Vengeance.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
But the idea is that when I have him completely painted, so Flesh Eaters always have a white stripe. So he'll be the only one in my army that has a red helmet, like with no stripe. And then he'll have I'll do the gold trim and then the white wings. So looking at him from this angle, his head will be the Blood Angels logo.
Okay.
Cool. So
Cool.
it'll be a red drop within the white wings. But he'll be fun. I'm excited about this guy.
Excellent.
He's so busy. There's so much stuff on him. I didn't add too much. If anything, I took stuff away because I was like, this model has a lot going on.
Yeah.
He has so much flair.
All the flair. You can see it hanging from his belt there. Yeah. They're looking very cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and then in the background, you can kind of see him. That's the apothecaries and lieutenants. And then I also knocked out 2 repulsors and 10 assault intercessors. So all I have left to build is I have another repulsor started. I have to finish that and an executioner, and then the 10 death company, and then everything is built.
Right.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Cool.
Super. Are you excited about that?
yeah, it's nice to have it all built. Next thing I got to do is I got to order a foam tray from Battle Foam that will hold 4 repulsors. It's a custom tray. I designed it. It perfectly holds 4 repulsors, and there'll be a hole in the middle that's 5 inches deep where I can put my standard bearer.
Nice.
And then I got to get that shipped so I can bring all this to Adepticon.
Right. Excellent. That'd be cool. Nice. How about you, Josh? What have you been working on personal hobby-wise?
Well, due to my job, I don't get a lot of time to work on my own personal stuff, unfortunately, but I do squeeze in just that little bit of time on, in early mornings and that kind of thing. And I don't have any photos, but I'm going to hold up a miniature. Maybe you'll recognize, or someone in the chat will recognize. If you can
That
see
looks like one of the old Hero Quest orcs.
there you go, Jake. Yeah, remembered it well, mate. So I'm actually painting up the Hero Quest set, the very first thing I ever bought that was in association with Games Workshop, obviously for the miniatures. But I never had the skill because I didn't know how to paint miniatures. But now, all these years later, after the recent death of Brian Ansell, I really wanted to go and paint all the Milton Bradley game box sets like Hero Quest, Space Crusade, and the Battle Master sets in commemoration of his passing and that kind of thing. Because to say thank you for all the awesome games and stuff that you brought to the hobby for so many people. So it's a really fun passion project I'm working on now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool.
That's
Yeah,
great.
nice. Super cool. So just quickly jumping into the chat, Matt Bowles says, "What makes Space Marines strap the remains of a person on a shield?" Psychopathy. Scott says, "I hope when I've lived a good enough life that when I die, my friends parade my bones around. Except that we're not soldiers, so maybe do it on golf bags or something like that."
Or tie it to the back of a car or truck or something. Like, like a wedding.
Lee is here. Lee's joined us. First time here. Blame Mel. We blame Mel for a lot of things, so that's okay. I'm here to spy on your shelves and judge you by your book collections. Fantastic. My book collection's over there, so you won't actually see it. This is just my acres of...
Anybody who's new, please like and subscribe down below. Tell your friends, help spread the word. We're trying to get bigger. We're over 400. I would love to hit 500 by Adepticon. That would be awesome.
Yep, that would be great. Josh says, "You see, Matt Bowles, Brother Steve always liked to be at the front of the action, so he strapped him to the front of the shield."
The weirdest thing to me about the whole skull thing is like it's very chaosy. You know, like the Night Lords always have like bodies strapped to their tanks, and like the word bearers always have bodies strapped to their tanks. So like when they did it with the Space Marines, I was like, the skulls I get, but like the whole body, I'm like, it seems a little.
The difference there is that Chaos strap their enemies' bodies.
Sure.
The shield, kind of like Reavers in Firefly.
Yeah.
So, but for the Space Marines, it's their friends.
Right, but my point is that it's technically the same guys. Like if Brother Steve dies and the Night Lords get to him, he's going on their tank. If Brother Steve dies and they don't get to him, he's going on someone's shield. Like,
so I think the point you're making is if you don't want to be strapped to something when you die, follow Chaos.
I was gonna say overload your plasma pistol. Gotcha.
Overload your plasma pistol. Right.
Don't draw the shortest straw, maybe.
Yeah, that's my exiting move. Is I overload my plasma pistol.
Yeah.
Awesome. Calvin only says 1991. Was that when Hero Quest was released? 91?
I think so. Yeah, I think 91. Yep. That's right.
And just says they've been playing through that again, starting with Keller's Keep.
Brilliant.
Sorry, they are starting Keller's Keep on Sunday.
That was Milton Bradley, right?
Yep, that's Milton Bradley, mate. Yeah, so the guy who started Hero Quest formerly worked at Games Workshop. That's how he made that connection. So he knew Brian Ansell, he knew the guys at Games Workshop, so he just got them in touch with Milton Bradley, and that's how they got them to produce all the miniatures and everything for the game, and I think maybe the internal art and all that kind of stuff as well, maybe.
My godmother's mom worked at Parker Brothers, which is a very small board game company that was here in New England. It was here right in Massachusetts. Yep. And then Parker Brothers got bought by Milton Bradley and they merged them. And she always I always got the coolest gifts from her. So we always got board games and puzzles and toys and stuff. But I remember she got us Hero Quest, and my cousins and I lost our minds. Yeah, 91. So I would have been I think I was a freshman, or I was a sophomore in high school. And for Christmas we got Hero Quest, and we were like, this is awesome. We were super psyched.
That's right, man. Yep.
Nice. Lee says, just realized you're the Dave from Mel's book. I am the Dave from Mel's book.
He is. That's him. That's him.
That's the one.
It is good to put it. So yeah, this is my face. It is a lovely one. But yeah, thanks, Lee. Definitely cool. Scott says, Chaos straps bodies with hate, Marines straps bodies with love.
It's totally different.
Totally different.
Brother Steve's last name was ablative.
I remember buying, you were talking about the other game that they made, the Battle Masters.
Yep.
And I remember having seen Bretonnian armies, and all of back then, I think what was the edition that had Empire in the starter set for Fantasy?
The starter set?
They definitely did.
Really?
It's sixth edition.
It's sixth? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one that was out at the time. And I remember being like, I want to play Bretonnians. And you couldn't get that box anymore. And I was like, I bet I could just buy Battle Masters and put them on movement trays. And the problem is that they deliberately made them slightly bigger. All the horses are all stretched out. So I tried to get them and trim them so they'd fit on trays, and it didn't work. And I got frustrated. I was like, this is stupid. I put it all back in the box. But my brother and I used to play Battlemaster all the time. The giant, the blue plastic Marauder giant is like one of the best models.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, you could easily transfer like a lot of the foot soldiers, the Empire foot soldiers, straight into your Empire armies. They're a little bit smaller.
Yeah,
the figures a little bit smaller, but if you put them amongst other stuff, you wouldn't know. So
sure.
It's all good.
You got so much stuff in that box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, mate. I actually got mine in Japan because they made a Japanese translated version of it. Amazingly,
right.
Which really surprised me because because Games Workshop didn't really hit Japan until 5th edition era. So 1996, when they started opening stores and that kind of thing here in Japan. So I was really surprised to see they actually translated a version just for Battle Masters. And I don't know if Space Crusade and Hero Quest got the same treatment or not. But I found one here in a secondhand store, fully complete and everything. And I bought it for my son. But he was a bit too young at the time to really appreciate it and have a lot of attention span issues and that kind of thing. But later, like this year, I'll paint it, and hopefully this Christmas we'll get it on the floor, because you got to play it on the floor. That mat is so big because it's not 6x4; it's like 8x6 or something.
I like that he's like, I collect all 90 stuff. So what I did was I bought Battle Masters for my son. It's like, okay, like I get it as a dad.
Sure,
you're
you did.
I want to play that. I mean, with my son, obviously, but I want to play
buy for you, but you can't touch anything, okay?
Yeah. That's awesome. At Historicon last year, there was somebody was running a game of Battle Masters on. I think it was I think they had 4 sets of Battle Masters that they lined up. Just one big long table.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I remember seeing that because they pan down the table, and there's there's that square tower.
That's right. Yep.
So there was like a square tower. Like every on all the mats where it's supposed to be, and I was like, "Oh, this is great!" It took me back.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, you guys are so lucky to have Adepticon. It means it just seems like a dream convention to go to, because you got a lot of the older stuff and the newer stuff all together, and people really passionately playing games and all that kind of stuff.
You should come. Japan has airplanes. I know.
Man, I love it. I would love to. I'd love to. Okay, yeah, it'd be great, mate. It'd be awesome. One day, it's on the bucket list, mate. So definitely.
It's super cool to have you over.
Yeah, mate. Right.
Carl says that's interesting. I thought they hit Japan in 4th edition. Carl, you're talking 40K. We're talking Warhammer, so slightly different there. But they so a little bit earlier, and the Tau in 2001 was sort of part of that sort of drive into the Japanese market. For sure. Getting real KB vibes, KB Toys vibes in this episode. Definitely. Okay, quickly, we will jump. Oh, sorry, no, one thing. So I've been painting up my dreadnoughts for Tale of Four Warlords. And one thing I wanted to show, I'm not sure if we've got Cliff in the chat yet, but I'm painting their names. I've given each of them names. My friend, when I say I've given them, my friend Dave Powell's created some names for me, but this guy is Ice Bear, so he's one of the Brutalis dreadnoughts that I've got. You'll notice I've gone completely black for the Brutalis dreadnought, rather than the gray, having some of the gray. Working on my Ballistus dreadnought, which is half black, half gray. So I'm just sort of messing around with some different arrangements of the colors on the dreadnoughts.
Very nice.
But yeah, on the top, Cliff Ed has suggested that I use some Ogham runes. I don't know if I can show that towards the camera. Let me get that. Anyway, I'll take some photos for 2 weeks' time.
It looks like a big Y with a bunch of kill markers on it.
Basically, yeah, there's a lot of so Ogham runes are from Ireland, found in Ireland and Wales, sort of very early writing systems. But yeah, basically there's a line and then there's lots of hash marks across it. So depending on the letter, it could be 1 hash mark, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
Could be angled, could be flat, could be just out one side, just out the other side. How much more? Could it be any more blacker? No, he couldn't. But yeah, so decided to use those. So each of the dreadnoughts and walker sort of things will have that kind of parchment looking.
Cool.
Nice.
Yep.
I like it.
Over there.
Nice one.
So some of them are a little bit longer, some of them a bit shorter. One of the, what do you call it? The Invicta Tactical War Suits has, I gotta find the name, the Ratatosca.
Oh, that's the squirrel who runs up and down the world tree.
Yep, the horned squirrel from Icelandic Saga. So super cool. So that's what I've been messing around with that, as well as painting up a few more gore grunters
Cool.
for a commission.
That's a weird flex for that Space Marine army, but I like it.
Yeah,
They're massive models, aren't they? Those things now.
Yeah,
they are. They're huge.
So you're using those in place of the Outriders?
Yeah. They're going to be great. You can tell that they're Space Marines because they've strapped their friends.
Yep. There you go.
Skulls to their armor. But yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been working on.
Ridiculous.
There we go. Joe says it's an Irish alphabet. The center line is normally the corner of the standing stone. Oh, okay. That's cool. So they're standing stones like that and then carved into lines on either side or across. Excellent. Thanks for that, Jez. I knew you would know. Nice. So just quickly before we jump into talking about a lot more about Crown of Command, the Crown of Command podcast and the Evie-led painting, we have a couple of hot tips this week. So the hot tips this week are two Instagram accounts for you to check out. First on the left is Alfonso Heraldez, Banshee, known as Banshee in the painting world. Alfonso is I believe, the creative director for Scale 75 now. Yep. But he is a brilliant painter, does some awesome work. And this is one of his recent posts. Thought Jake would like the Wolverine.
Everybody likes Wolverine, so yeah.
It's true, but he looks fantastic. Such incredible character.
Yep.
And the other one there is El Miniaturista, who is just basically killing it as far as object source lighting goes.
Yeah, that purple is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got so much lighting going on in that image, but yeah, he has probably the last 2 or 3 years really sort of elevated to the top of the object source lighting game. So if you want some amazing inspiration or you just want to see some super cool models, go and check out those accounts. We've got those linked in the notes below.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
And yeah, Josh says OSL on NMM, quite vibrant. Very much so. But yeah, beautiful work from both of them. Really awesome.
Oops.
That's Castle and Crow.
Yeah.
With his demon sword.
Yep. So I
love the whole lore of that. Like, it's like he's a Grey Knight, and it's like I found this demon sword, and it's like, well, shouldn't you not be using that because it'll possess you? And it's like, right, except it can't because like his will is so strong that the demon has no toehold. But if anybody else were to get it, like the demon will get free and it'll like take them over, and now the demon is loose. So he's like, well, I have to just keep it.
Yeah,
I love it.
we can't trust it to anybody else.
Yeah.
So here's a question then. Do you think Castle and Crow is he a straps friends onto the front of his shield, straps enemies onto the front of his shield? Where does he stand?
I don't think he straps anybody onto the front of anything because he doesn't have a shield.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah. Sure. Be sensible. But
he doesn't have to worry about with the demon that lives in his sword.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing to worry about. Yeah, there's so many talented people on Instagram. I follow Instagram a lot, and I'm always amazed by some of the level of painting from painters out there and around the world. And it's a great way for so many people to outsource your pictures and your talents and what it might be. Miniature painting, scale modeling, whatever it might be. Some really talented people out there. So that's great to see.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think Banshee's been around for a long time. I mean, he was around since like the early Cool Mini and Not days, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
That kind of era, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, definitely. But yeah, awesome stuff. Nice. So next up, we are moving into talking about Crown of Command podcast and Heavy Lead. So, Josh, tell me about the podcast. Talk to me about Crown of Command and where that came from. Who the type of people you talk to, what do you focus on, all that sort of fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So the Crown of Command podcast. Wow, that sort of started around. As I alluded to before, I've collected and amassed all this stuff, all this Games Workshop stuff in the 90s, a good 5 years ago now. Right. That's when it all sort of started, and I sold off a lot of stuff to get the money to buy all this 90s games like 5th edition Warhammer, 4th edition Warhammer, 2nd edition 40k. So I accumulated all this stuff, and of course I had to sort of try to persuade a lot of the guys who I game with to start playing these old games again, which was a hard sell because if you say, hey, let's play 5th edition Warhammer, they go, huh? What, really? Are you serious? Because these games are so outdated, and they probably played these games because I'm a bit older than the other guys in the group. They would have probably picked up 5th edition when they were in public school, primary school, junior high school, or whatever. In some cases, when they're in elementary school, they first found Warhammer 5th edition. So this is going back a long, long way for them. But fortunately, I persuaded a few of the guys to join in my mad pursuit of playing 5th edition Warhammer, and that's how it all started. So we started playing a few games, and I introduced new people that had never played 5th edition before into it as well. And then I started, and I think COVID sort of began at that stage. So we're all in lockdown. Well, in lockdowns, we're not getting together and that kind of thing. And I started posing questions on Facebook in the 4th and 5th Warhammer Fantasy group. It's like, how did you get into the hobby? What was your origin story into getting into Warhammer and all that kind of thing? So that sparked a lot of responses from people. And I think depending on what age they were, generally most people got in through a hero quest like I did, or Space Crusade or something like that. They discovered Games Workshop, they discovered painting and collecting miniatures and Warhammer eventually. And I thought, well, it'd be really nice to have those stories, but because of the transitive nature of Facebook, you lose all that stuff. It's there for a day and it's gone. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to bring their stories in a different format. And I thought about podcasting. I didn't know anything about how to start a podcast. So I got some help along the way, and then thought about a title for the podcast, what would be good. And as a Night Goblin player from back in 5th edition days, it was essential and mandatory to take the Crown of Command as the magic item for your general, so that you would have this leadership 10 bubble around your army kind of thing.
Yeah,
which you definitely needed with them.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're just going to be crushed if you didn't take it.
That's the biggest role. That one. That's
it.
Without a doubt. It's like, okay, your strength is you have loads and loads of models. You've got these fanatics. It's amazing. What's your weakness? My low leadership. Well, how about we give you this thing that makes your leadership higher than everybody else?
But if you kill the commander, then you're just gone. Like, it's just going to destroy your entire army. They're going to run off to the hills. But I thought that'd be cool, having like the Crown of Command. It seems like one of those the name sort of just fit. And then I didn't really realize until later, so someone pointed out, oh, that's from Talisman. And of course it was. The original Crown of Command was from the Talisman board game, which I do have the 2nd edition copy on my shelf that I bought when I was about 17. I still got that. That's one of the surviving things I had. I've never sold it. And then it sort of started from there, and I sort of made my sort of very first footsteps into podcasting, the podcasting world, and learning a lot about how to do a good podcast, how to not do a bad one, and terrible audio. I mean, for anybody who's listened to the very first episodes of the Crown of Command, I really feel sorry for you, because there would be really bad audio quality, and I didn't know what I was doing. But the enthusiasm was there, and I connected with a lot of people around the world, from Canada to Europe, Australia, and in Japan as well. And the Crown of Command community started growing slowly but surely, and more people started coming. And during COVID, during the lockdowns, we didn't have a lockdown in Japan.
Okay.
But of course, in Europe and America, you guys were at home, and bored stiffless, and you wanted to find something to do, and a lot of people started getting their old collections out and started painting their old models, from Warhammer 40k or whatever. And this whole movement started. I think you would have noticed during COVID, like all these Facebook groups, their membership started increasing, like second edition 40k group, the Warhammer groups, whatever, Middlehammer.
Yeah.
And it got a bit of a resurgence, and which is great to see. So not that I don't think a lot of people were playing the games, but I think they just enjoyed the nostalgia of collecting and painting the models of their youth,
Right.
So that's how it all sort of began, and it sort of just grew from there. And I'm still really enthusiastic and passionate about 90s games to this day, and talking to people and meeting people and talking about their experiences, and because everyone's got a different story, how they got into the game, into the hobby.
Right.
So that's how it really started, mate.
Cool. That's awesome. The I think you've had, well, how many episodes are we up to now?
I think it's about 120 now.
120.
Yeah.
Nice. There's a great depth of episodes to go back and check out. If you go back about like 14, 15 months, you'll find an episode with an interview with a plucky young lad from Australia who
That's right.
then went on to start his own YouTube live stream with Jake.
That's it. That's right. Dave's been a guest on my podcast, and they'll be coming back again with Jake again soon. I think on the 17th, we've got you booked in because as part of the Crown of Command, as I started interviewing like just people, I really wanted to interview also people who are creators, who are doing great things in the community, and sort of giving them a bit of a voice, a bit of a boost, so more people would find out about what they're doing and connect with them on social media like YouTube or Facebook groups or whatever, to help you guys out. Because I just enjoy talking to people and finding out what motivates them about the hobby, why they're still doing this, all these years later. Why aren't you playing computer games? It seems much easier. Why do you go through all this trouble of But the hobby is so encompassing, because some people just do it for the collecting, some people just do it for the painting, some people just love the meta of the gaming. Otherwise, it's a combination of all these things. Or like Mel, who likes doing terrain, and has his own community there at the terrain attack, the terrain tutor, YouTube channel and that kind of thing on Facebook. So everyone's coming in from a different angle into the hobby, and it's a very fulfilling, very satisfying thing too, because you're building something and making something, and I think people appreciate it for that, and they're getting their kids involved because we're all now dads, and we're trying to get the younger generation into it as well. Things like Battle Masters, getting that on the table. No one's like, kids never seen this stuff before.
Right.
They've never seen, and because I took, I don't know, what was it? That's right, I took HeroQuest because I used to be a teacher. Teaching English here in Japan. I took that to one of my classes, and the kids were just blown away. They'd never seen anything like it, and I got them all playing. I would just sit back and watch them, and one of the girls would read. She would be like the game master, and she would read all that sort of old English text in the book,
right?
Like the old English, whatever it's called, like this really old sort of fashion style of fantasy kind of script on the flavor text, basically, to set the scene for the adventure. And she'll be reading this stuff, and I love it. It was great, and the kids just had a great time.
I think we're in a unique position. Like, so we're all like, we're not like, there's a bunch of guys I know who are at least 20 to 25 years older than us, who are like sort of the first wave of gamers, and we're kind of that Gen X, like second wave of gamers. Like the original guys are guys like, Gary Gygax and, Ed Greenwood, guys who like created Dungeons and Dragons in the world, and, the Rick Priestleys of the world, and all these guys who like made all this stuff. And they got into that because of games like D&D and, toy soldiers and historical figures and things like that. And then our generation, the Gen X guys, are the guys who kind of like got on board once they got that rolling. So like you said, all the 90s era stuff, which again is still 3rd edition, 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy, not 1st or 2nd edition. So we missed some of that. And even when I got introduced, Rogue Trader was technically what was out when I first got exposed to it, but I've never played a game of Rogue Trader. It's the only edition I've never played. And then so you look at all that stuff, and then it kind of went through like a lean phase, kind of like in the, I would say like the late 90s is kind of went through this weird phase where not really a lot of people were playing it. It wasn't something that was super popular. And then you went through a big boom recently where like D&D is massive. Like people are playing Warhammer. Like the fact that you have guys like Henry Cavill talking about like, you know, oh yeah, I paint miniatures. Like I forget the interview, but he was doing some interview on, I think on the Graham Norton show, and it's him and another guest. And Graham goes, so you've talked before about toy soldiers. And I love that Graham pretends like he's not sure what it is. And I'm like, you're in England, man. Like games workshops in England are like Dunkin' Donuts are in the United States. There's no way he doesn't know what it is. Like maybe he doesn't play it, but there's no way he doesn't know. So for the audience, he explains, oh, it's toy soldiers, whatever. So while he's answering this question, you see Henry Cavill lean over and goes, I mean, I paint custodes. And then one of the other guests goes, oh, I paint Space Marines. And the two of them start going, oh yeah, they kind of lean off camera and they're like nerding out about it. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, that's like, they're just like us. Everybody just wants to play cool games. But we're also in this very unique time. We're kind of in the golden age of gaming. Yeah. Where Hero Quest is reprinted now. We have the new Hero Quest in stock at my store. It's phenomenal. It's basically a reprint of the original. The only difference is they got rid of the Games Workshop content because their licenses expired. So it's all new minis and they look great. And it's all new like graphics and like layout and stuff. But it's the same game. Like if you bought it and you gave it to the kids at your school, they're going to be like, oh, it's Hero Quest. Like it's absolutely identifiable. You've got, there's the new, the old barbarian was like, my favorite was the wizard, the wizard like this. Like that guy's the best. Yeah, that guy's awesome. But like, so now there's the new, you said Crown of Command is from, what's the board game?
Oh, Talisman.
Yeah. So like, there's like 5 versions of Talisman now.
Yeah, I know.
There's like the new version of Talisman. There's a Batman Talisman. There's a Disney one that what's
called?
I can't remember what it's called, but
didn't it do like a Final Fantasy kind of Disney thing one as well?
Yeah, it's the one with the keys.
That's the one. Yeah, I can't think of the name. I don't play this.
I didn't play that one. But there's so many of them. So there's those, and then there's Relic. Relic is the 40K version of the game. It's very similar.
That's right.
But like it's just so easy now, and you've got all these, and people keep asking me, they're like, "Why do you think this is happening?" And I was like, "It's because the people who are our age, Gen Xers, are now running these companies, and they're like, you know what was really cool? Thundercats. We're gonna make a new Thundercats show for Netflix. We're gonna make a new He-Man show. We're gonna make a bunch of superhero movies. We're gonna, have Warhammer TV." And it's because the Gen Xers that grew up in like sort of the resurgence of this are now in charge of these companies, which is why you have so many options now, which is great. I think it's good for everybody.
Yep. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Jake. I think there are two different eras, like you talked about, like the D&D era, the Hero Quest era, and I think the Lord of the Rings was a massive thing for Games Workshop, getting people in the doors, finding out about their products and that kind of thing. So you've got 3 big eras of generations that came through Games Workshop in that way. But you're right. Yeah, if you talk to anybody in the industry, they're all got sort of some kind of tie back to Games Workshop somehow. They worked in the stores, they worked at the studio or whatever.
I say it every time. We're like a virus. We're everywhere. Yeah. James got it in the comments. James said it's Kingdom Hearts. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts. That's the one.
Yeah, it's like a Disney Final Fantasy mashup.
Yeah.
Just quickly in the chat, Jason says, "Old enough to remember Battle Masters, also old enough to grunt and groan and try to get back up from the floor."
Yeah, I did that too because I did it with a friend of mine. Because Justin, my good friend here in Japan, that was his first game that he ever played. Bought like a tabletop, war game. So I said, "Okay, let's play it together." So we got on the floor, and mate, it killed me. You know, my legs, my knees. You know, because we don't have a table big enough to put that mat on. You know what I mean? I need to custom make one. But my house,
we found out was pretty good. So at my house, my parents had an old ping pong table.
Yeah.
That my friends and I use as our D&D table. We basically, it wasn't one of the huge ones that folded in half, but it was gigantic. So I removed the bolts and pulled the net, and I put like a green, not AstroTurf, but like, it's a green felt mat. And then I would just put the Battlemaster mat over it. But it also fits, I think it fits on a pool table. My uncle had a pool table, and we played it on that when we were little, because we weren't allowed to use the pool table. So I was like, okay, we'll put this on top of the pool table. And then we just played there. But that prevents you from having to, like, kneel down and blow out your knee and do all that stuff.
I might have to take to the local pool store then and just see if I can just borrow the pool. You can hire the pool tables. I suppose I can hire it to play Battlemasters on maybe one day.
Yeah,
we'll see how we go. But
Scott says, please tell me, Josh, you continued to teach your English students to talk all old-timey.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the authentic way to speak.
And the great thing, she loved it. She really got into the whole thing, and she liked, trying to kill off the characters and that kind of thing in the game. It was wonderful. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, Jez says, verily, Scott, 'tis ye most affectatious parlance for rhetoric.
And the thing about what Jake said before, the re-releases, I mean, these kids can now go and buy that game. You know what I mean? They can relive those great memories I had when I was a teenager playing Hero Quest. They can do it now with this new iteration.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't have the Fimmer in it, or it doesn't have all the Chaos Warriors and stuff in it, but it's still the same game, just with different characters in it, different model beasties or whatever. You know what I mean?
And the minis are great. Like, you still have all the undead, because so there was all the undead. They still have like orcs and goblins. There are demons, but I don't think they're not like Games Workshop demons. It's like they're more like devils. It's like devil dudes.
Yeah.
But generic. And again, the technology has come so far that the sculpts are so much better, and the miniatures the quality is so much better. But again, it's all plastic. You can get the whole thing for, like, I think it's $70.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And there's like 2 expansions. So if you really like it, you buy the expansions, and it comes with, one is like all orcs and lizardmen and has a bunch of new adventures in it. And then the other one is all more undead and has a bunch of new adventures in it. And I was like, what a great idea. It's like, I want to play a board game that's like more than just, rolling dice and moving guys around. It's like, okay, cool. Let's play Hero Quest. So
there's a guy in a Discord who plays the new Hero Quest with a group of people. And what he's done, he's got a room just dedicated for his Hero Quest board and table setup and everything like that. But the walls, he's got wallpaper of like a dungeon sort of style wallpaper on there with like the fire lanterns and stuff like that on the sides. And it's brilliant. Like, it's just like you're in the dungeon itself and you walk into that room. Nice. It's so cool. So I'm glad that so many people are still passionate about Hero Quest still after all these years.
There's that game has spawned so many other so that is like the prototypical dungeon crawl game where we all have a character, and then Dave takes his turn, and then you take your turn, and I take my turn, and we adventure through the game and make decisions. That's a whole genre of games now. Like, I own a bunch of dungeon crawls, and they're incredible. There's so much stuff out there now. It really is the golden age of gaming. If there's something that you like, or an IP that you're interested in, I promise you there's a version of it. We were talking the other day that my favorite old retro game that they still have yet to reintroduce is Mordheim. Mordheim was great.
Yep.
But that's the only one that I can think of that they haven't like rebooted or redone.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will get around to it. But I've never played Mordheim, so that sort of was at the time when I sort of got out of Games Workshop at that stage. But I'll have to give it a go, man, and see what it's like, because I know a lot of people always talk about Mordheim as being one of the greatest games ever made. So
it's really good. I think like Blood Bowl, the rule set was really well done and really well designed, and it's I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's pretty well balanced. There's definitely some stuff you can break. Like, we laugh all the time. The old, like, the Skaven slinger list, we just have like a million Skavens with slings. Like, okay, there were ways to break the game, but overall, it was fun. Like, we had a buddy in our store who used to run Dave, I don't know if you remember was it the Carnival of Chaos?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, it was all the weird, like, Nurgle dudes that were dressed up like circus performers. Like, that's hilarious. There were like demon hunters and stuff. It was a really fun game, and it was it was almost like Rogue Trader. Like, you built a war band, and then they skirmished around and you fought other warbands and stuff. It's a really, really good game. Dave just got back from some tournament and you were saying that there were like people there.
Oh, I didn't go to it,
Oh,
but
no,
I
sorry.
paid attention.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, there was the guys we had on last week. They were saying that there were people there playing Mordheim, and we were like, really? And he was like, yeah. He goes like, more people than you would think would have just shown up at a small show to play Mordheim.
Turns out there were 100 people at that event.
Yeah. Wow.
New England, the New England Mordheim Open.
Yeah. 100 people for a game that hasn't been printed since like 2003.
It released in '99.
When was the last time they did it like an update or like?
Oh, there's only been the one edition. The last time they published Town Crier, which was the sort of the magazine that supported it, probably would have been 2006.
Yeah, like again. So this is a game that has been, for all intents and purposes, dead.
Yeah.
For almost 24 years, and people were like, "Oh, I gotta show up and play that game." It's crazy.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Speaking of getting excited about old minis, I know we weren't.
Let's see what we got.
Let's jump in and so Josh has sent us a whole bunch of photos of minis that he's painted up in recent times. Most of these are for your commission painting service, is that right?
Just about all of them. There is some personal project. The Empire stuff is my personal stuff, but we'll have a look, mate. When you show them, I'll talk you through them if you like.
Through them, that'd be great. Okay. Yep. First up, we have some Bretonnian Knights. I thought it'd be sort of apropos to talk about them now. But yeah, Bretonnian Knights. These are from that 5th edition box set released in '96.
Those are awesome.
That's right. Yeah, this is for a commission for a gentleman in the US. He reached out to me when I first started my company and said, would you mind painting up some Bretonnian Knights for me? I said, yeah, that'd be great. Because to be honest, I've never painted a Bretonnian Knight in my life. Even though I was working at the Games Workshop studio when the set was being painted and created and that kind of thing. But I never got a chance to paint any of the Bretonnians. So that was a really nice job to do. And I really envisioned all these bright colors and all the heraldry. All the heraldry is all done in freehand because there's no transfers. And he sort of just specified some simple kind of, coat of arms that he wanted on them. And I freehanded the banner for him as well. So yeah, overall, it's just a really nice project. And I did a video on my channel about it, looking at how to paint yellows, how to paint reds, and how to do the freehand and that kind of thing to make it nice and simple for people if they want to replicate it on their own miniatures.
Shouldn't those bases be goblin green?
Well, there you go. That's right, Jake. But for his army, he wanted everything in a brown, like a earthy brown color, because I think he.
Brown? Is it bestial brown?
Is it bestial brown? Yeah.
No, it wasn't actually. But I think I used one of the Vallejo colors, which probably is very similar to that anyway. I think it's like flat earth or something. I think.
And all the lances should all be red.
Yeah, that's right, Jake. Another good point, mate. Yeah, exactly. But no, that being black.
Oh. Yeah. Dude, they're great though. I always loved the old Bretonnians. They were one of those armies that a bunch of us always wanted to paint them. I mean, and this is like when I was probably 16, 17, like we always wanted them. But at the same time, you're like, it's just daunting. Like it is like that's what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 characters is what that is, because every one of them is different. Like their paint scheme is different, their whole like their heraldry is different, the colors you're using, like they're all of their mantlets and their their symbols are all different. Like it's crazy the amount of work. We talk all the time. Our buddy Steve Fuller, and we love Steve. He is missed every day, but Steve had an entire Bretonnian army that was painted up using all of the heraldry from Game of Thrones when I met him at the studio in like 2003, working for White Dwarf. And now this is way before the show, way before like even book 3 was out or book 2 was out.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm doing it on this Game of Thrones thing. And we're all like, what's Game of Thrones? Like nobody knew what it was. And he had painted all of his heraldry was the houses from Game of Thrones.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Steve was meticulous, like checkerboard barding and bunting on the horses and stuff. It was nuts.
Wow. Yeah. That'd been awesome to see. Brilliant.
But these look great. I love the old Bretonnians.
Cliff has said bubonic brown. It's possible that bubonic brown sort of dry brushed on the top there, but bubonic brown was much more like ochre color, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I used. I think it's called Rotting Flesh or Dead Flesh from Vallejo game color. So it's kind of very similar, like a yellowy ochre or green ochre kind of color. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So next up, let's get excited about these guys.
Oh, dang.
Now, these are for David Schooley, that was in our chat before. I don't know if he's still there, but I absolutely loved doing this because, 4th edition fantasy is my favorite edition of all the Warhammer releases they ever made. It's actually Rick Priestley's favorite edition too. Actually, he wrote the rules, of course, but the models that were created during that time were just something really magical. And these are all Gary Morley designs, of course.
Yep.
And
are these Crypt Guard? Are these Crypt Guard?
These are whites.
Yep.
These are white champions, or you can have them as a unit. But I had to recreate them based on all the studio color schemes that Stuart Thomas and Dave Perry did back in that day. And I just loved doing this whole project, like painting all the shields and freehand and everything like that. It was just a joy to do.
The shields are awesome. The guy on the left probably has my favorite shield. The castle
with the moon behind it.
That looks so cool.
Yeah,
I think my favorite is the mausoleum there.
Right.
Yeah. Again, they're all really good. They're all amazing.
Yeah.
So I tried my best to replicate as closely as I could to the studio schemes that the great painters back then were doing for the studio and White Dwarf and everything.
I think you've done them. I think you've done them a service. These look fantastic.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Definitely.
The old school like scribbly fire. That's like a classic GW move. The little fire lines.
I did a video on this, so you can check it out on my channel. Me painting these particular 4 guys. So if you want to check that out, it's a video there, so you can see how I painted the shields and all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome. I was going to say, down in the notes below, we've got the podcast is linked and the YouTube channel is linked as well.
Yep. Thanks, Dave. That's great. Thanks.
Yep. No worries. Definitely go and check those out after the show. Next up, Arcan the Black.
One of my favorite models. I was looking
original Arcan the Black.
Yeah, this is original. Well, I think he only survived in the 4th edition era. Is that right? Like they never brought back a flying chariot after this. Like he was just deleted out of the lore and everything.
No, the Arcan the Black exists now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Now he's a Mortark. He's basically like Nagash's right-hand man, and he has a flying Mortark that he's riding, or Morghast. He's riding a flying Morghast. His new model is great. He's got like the mini Pope hat, just like I used to have. It's crazy.
Cool.
Like,
awesome. Yeah, I was saying to Dave, David, I was really looking forward to painting this particular model because it's one of those iconic 4th edition flying chariots where he was the only thing that had a flying chariot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love painting the banner and the Arcan himself, and the chariot was so cool. And yeah, just really enjoyed that project too.
And I love the you got the 8 sort of winds of magic represented on the staff there, which is I think that's part of the original box art scheme.
Yeah, so it's exactly the same as the box art. Everything down to every single last color, everything. Yeah, it's same as the box art.
It's always nuts to me that he wasn't just on like a plastic rectangle.
Yeah.
Like the horses are separate. I was always like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I know. I think in the studio, in the actual 4th edition army book, he's actually put on a movement tray that's also got like sanded and colored goblin green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the only way to transport him around or move him around the tabletop. You couldn't do it like that. It would just be crazy.
Yeah.
So
were the horses separate because you could kill them off along the way?
Because in 4th edition, it wasn't like the entire object was just had one profile. You could, if in hand-in combat and shooting, you'd actually hit the individual horses or the rider or the chariot itself. So you'd have to take off the horses when you kill them. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if you could actually raise the dead and raise more horses for him. Maybe you could do that for your chariots. I think you probably could. Yeah,
that could be a possibility.
That's so good.
Yeah. And one of the things I love from this model as well is the basically that little sort of lectern that he has in front of him.
The little familiar guy
holding his book.
Yeah,
sort of the book.
Yeah,
it's very Dark Angels, like one of the Watchers.
Yeah, that's right, one of the Watchers. Exactly. Yep.
I think you should replace those bat wings with feathered wings.
This is
great. That, Jake.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, no, it looks awesome. You did a fantastic job there. And then, and also there's that wonderful classic sort of cartoon castle in the the top left of the banner there.
Yeah, dude, the
Yes.
banner's great with that green like pseudo scroll work.
Oh, the
Yes,
thorns.
these vines and thorns wrapping
Yeah.
around it. Yeah, so yeah, really fun.
That's awesome. Great one. Some classic
Oh,
Yeah,
vignettes.
big claw hands. Yeah,
Yep.
the big old,
the lobster girls. That's what we used to call the lobster girls. Like it just
bikini vignettes.
the next Daemonettes are the best Daemonettes. The ones that are by
The 1DS.
yeah,
One
1DS.
DS.
Like those are the best ones.
I actually my favorite for me were the 3rd edition Jez Gooden ones, the really small ones that he did. They were beautiful.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think he did like 8 different variants of that model, and they're just gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah, they are
but,
beautiful.
but these are
Those
nice
ones
too.
are really good.
I think when I saw these, this just took me right back to one of the first big events that I was involved with when I was working for Games Workshop, which was Battle for Bugman's Brewery.
Oh yeah,
and our area manager Martin Perkins was painting up a lot of the models for it, and so it's basically a big chaos, sort of demonic incursion assault on Bugman and the Dwarf Brewery. And I think a bunch of these models got painted, and he painted everything up really quickly.
Yeah.
White prime, loads of washes, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing to see these models be churned out so quickly." But so that's what this picture immediately took me back to.
Oh, cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Lovely, man.
I think it's definitely cool when you have that sort of thing. And Matt Bowles says, "I love when these would ride the steeds of Slanesh."
Ah, yes, yeah. I'd hate to think how much they cost now. Those guys, all those metal models now, but this was for a commission for my right hand man on the podcast, Carnifex, who's my co-host when he has time to come on, and he sent me a whole heap of Chaos Slanesh 40K 2nd edition models to paint up.
Yeah.
So this is part of a big commission I did for him. The very first one I did, actually. So
Nice.
yeah, really enjoyed that too.
And I think the steeds had kind of they were the ones with the coral kind of looking horns.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
The big lashing tongue.
I don't think they had given them a new. I think they were just mounted Daemonettes, and in the newer editions, they're called like Pleasure Seekers, I think.
Right.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Next up. Okay, so this is from your personal
collection. Yeah.
Nice.
Amethyst wizard.
Yes, and I had just an enormous joy of painting this model because I loved I love 4th edition. I love all the paint jobs of the masters at the studio at that time, like Mike McVeigh. I think Kim Seiberg was there. Kev White, I think, was there as well. And who else am I forgetting? Some great names. Tim Prow, of course.
Right.
And these guys just made and of course the Perrys too, because the Perrys painted a lot of the models of their own collection. But I think a lot of the character models were painted by the studio team, and I really wanted to replicate a lot of those old school paint jobs from the Magic book or from White Dwarf magazines, and just recreating them as close as I could, even the symbols and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So had a great time doing that, and just doing like the Warlock purple to red transitions on that thing.
Yeah.
Was just a good challenge as well, because it's something I don't normally do, So
it looks
I think
great.
it's I always say like purple is one of the toughest colors to work with because you can take it in so many different directions really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a beautiful blend between those, between that Warlock purple at the top through
the only thing I didn't do is I do a lot of non-metallic metals for my own stuff. For commissions, I do it with metallics to keep it sort of true within the nostalgia of the paint jobs. But for myself, I just do non-metallic metals. So that's the only difference, really.
That's cool. Jake, you're about to say before I
think that's great. I really like the all the like astrological symbols you have all over the horse as well.
Yeah.
Like you getting that Starfield effect without it looking like you painted a bunch of dots. Like it looks like a Starfield. And then the schools of magic on the badging on the horse's backside is that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
And classic goblin green base with flocking.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's all sand. That's not.
Yeah.
I know they did originally do a lot of stuff with some models with flock, but usually it's all PVA sand, and then you paint over it and dry brush it, that kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, I have tons of models that are like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say also with this model too, on the other side, I didn't know what was on the other side. So I found a photo, I think it's Revenge of the Doom Lord from the Undead Army book. And it's got a picture of the other side of this guy with a skull painted on the other side of the barding. So that's
nice.
You can find out how the other side looked.
Awesome.
So.
Well, that's cool. It looks great. I think we've got some more Empire models here, including the venerable Knights Panther.
Yep, this is for a commission from a good friend in Austria.
Very nice.
So I did a Grand Master for him as well, and
I think I've got some photos of him coming up.
That's probably mine actually. I
did
one for him, but I didn't send you that photo. Sorry. So there is a Grand Master I painted for this unit as well to make it all 5. But yeah, really, really love doing these old Perry models. They're beautiful figures.
Yeah. And fantastic work on that, the freehand on those shields.
Yeah, those shields are great.
Yeah, that was a good challenge. But then I realized I think it's only the champion and the standard bearer that actually has a crown on it. The other ones don't have crowns.
Oh, okay.
So my OCD kicked in, thinking, "Oh my god, I sort of made a slight mistake." But they still look okay. But yeah.
No, they look great. I would, yeah. I mean, obviously, don't have the box art to compare them against, but
yeah, I realized later. Oh no, I only those 2 guys had the crowns. The other ones don't have crowns. But yeah, it was good. It was a nice challenge again for freehand. Freehanding all the lion heads. On the shields and stuff. So
yeah, they look awesome.
Fantastic. So this guy's from your.
That's mine. Yep.
Right.
So he's kind of the.
He is the Grandmaster from the Knights Panther. Yeah. So
that's right. Yeah, you're right, mate. Sorry, yeah. So he's the Grandmaster for the Knights Panther, but I just wanted like a generic hero because I'm going to do sort of like a Middenheim. It's based on the Revenge of the Doom Lord scenario. So I'm sort of just taking models and trying to replicate the units from that scenario. And yeah, he's kind of like the general of that sort of contingent for them. Yeah. So
it looks awesome. Particularly that wonderfully free-handed crux in there with the.
Yep, all freehand. Everything's freehand. Yeah, I don't really use. I was just talking to Dave before we started that. Now I'm using transfers because people send me transfers to put on models, and I'm sort of learning how to use transfers again because now obviously they've got additives like, fixers, softeners, all this kind of stuff to.
That's the stuff.
Effectively, yeah. So
the stuff David built up.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I need to wisen up to using transfers, but I love doing the freehand because it's kind of my own art. I'm imposing on the model, not not sort of painting.
I do freehand when it's something I don't need to duplicate.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I like back in the day, I think the first Flesh Eater I ever did was I did a squad of Death Watch Terminators. It was when the new plastic Terminator box came out from GW. And I built them for the case. I was a manager at the time. So I went around to my staff and I was like, pick a chapter. So everybody picked a chapter and I did them all. And then because they were all unique, 3 of the 5 guys picked chapters that weren't on the transfer sheet. So I was like, one kid picked an Ultramarine. I was like, cool, slap an Ultra on there. Another kid picked like I think what else is on there? An Imperial Fist. So I slapped an Imperial Fist on his. And then the other 3 guys and myself picked things that weren't transfers. And I was like, this will be easy because I'm only doing one guy. Like I don't need to duplicate it.
Yep.
So that I don't mind. But if I'm doing like a squad of Marines, I'm not going to paint 10 shoulder pads. I'm just going to do transfers. Yeah. Like it's so much easier. And again, like they look consistent, which is the big thing. So
that's the thing for like doing Space Marines. I need to look consistent, like all their Blood Angel insignias and everything like that. Yeah, I couldn't do that with freehand because obviously I'd have to charge for my time and expertise, and they'll take just painstakingly such a long time to do.
Yeah.
But like for the undead white guys, that's perfect because it's an individual shield. There's nothing to replicate.
Yeah.
There's one guy with one particular design.
Yeah.
Quick aside, Dave. You held up the bottle of Microsol.
Yep.
So we've carried. Yeah, so that's Microsol. So there's 2 bottles, Microsol and Microset.
Yep.
They're absolutely incredible. That company makes everything here in the US. It's a woman-owned business. For years, we have carried a bunch of different company stuff. We've gotten stuff from
Made in USA. Yep.
I'm in California actually. So for years we've tried getting different things because like there's no way to get that. And I was like, that's weird. You had to either order online or find somebody that knew it, or my cousin has an extra bottle. And I was like, it can't be this hard to get this. So I did a ton of research this week and found out the name of their store and contacted them and was like, hey, where are you getting this? And they were like, oh, we make it. And I said, can we carry that? And they're like, let's figure that out. So I'm hoping, like I emailed them today and I talked to somebody who worked there. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have something worked out where my store will stock Microsol and Microset.
Right.
Like it is, and it's better than any of the other companies that make it. Like AK Interactive makes their version of it. I've tried using it. It's okay. It's not as good. Green Stuff World makes a version of it. Same thing. It's passable. It's not great. The Microsol and Microset are awesome, and they're super reasonably priced.
Yeah,
right.
Very inexpensive.
One thing I did want to point out as well, particularly for Scott, is that Josh has been saying transfers rather than decals or decals.
Decals.
No. Yeah. Transfers is what they are. They're waterside transfers.
Awesome. Matt Bowles says it's one of the 12 magic swords of the Empire, if I remember correctly. One of the rune fangs.
Rune fangs, that's right. Yep, that's exactly right.
Definitely.
I think the dwarves made those. The dwarves made the rune fangs for the Empire, didn't they?
Yep.
I always had a soft spot. Do you have a Carl Franz? I always had a soft spot for the old Carl Franz.
Carl Franz, yeah, I've got the model on his Griffin, Deathclaw. So one day I'll get him to paint him up. But we discovered in our recent games that it was Magnus the Pious, who's just the biggest badass in the Empire. Like he's just amazing. So he's taking names.
Yeah, that was fierce.
Yep.
Scott says that he'll do freehand all day on orcs exclusively. It doesn't have to look good to look good.
Yeah, right. That's a very different thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Luis Sanchez says, I've been using Microsol and Microset for years. Awesome product. Chris Gawker has joined us. Hi, Chris.
What's up, Chris?
Rune Fangs, right. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Next pick we've got is there's the other side of.
That's the other side. So that was like the skull and the sort of
that's
the
awesome
Lauren thing around the back behind it, sort of thing. So yeah.
Fantastic work. Next up, yes.
Dude.
Man, this project, this is from my good friend Tim Baxter in the UK. Thank you so much, Tim, for sending me this, mate, because I absolutely loved doing these guys, every single one of them.
So four out of the 6 that are here are still these models.
Oh, really? Are they? Okay, great.
So Mogan Ra has a new sculpt, and he is awesome. This is one of my favorite sculpts of all time, is that Mogan Ra. The new Mogan Ra is just bigger. He's bigger and he's all plastic, and he has his hood up, like his like sort of Grim Reaper hood.
Yeah, yep.
The new Jane Zar is incredible.
Yep.
Much more dynamic, and it's a great pose, and she looks like she's about to just bring the hurt to everybody. The rumor is that the next one we're gonna get is a new Karandras, which would be pretty rad.
Right.
But yeah, like these are all Jess Goodwin sculpts. Like I love Jess's work. These are fantastic.
Yeah. The amazing thing, like when I was looking at this earlier, is like I hate Eldar. I don't just on principle, really.
Just tell us how you feel, Dan.
It's because Dave likes dwarves. You can't like dwarves and
that's
elves.
true.
Like
Exactly.
you like dwarves or elves.
That's
Exactly.
true. I try to love them both. I'm a loving guy, but yeah, I can, but elves always tend to betray me. So dwarves never do that. Yeah.
But I was able to look at them and like list off each of their names.
Yep.
I don't know whether it's like that was more a Book of Grudges kind of thing, but yeah, Fugan, Karandras, Jane Zar, Baharoth, Morgan Ra, and Asterman.
Yeah. Well, part of it also too, Dave, Dave, part of it also was like you were a painter. And all of these guys have their own paint. So there was like a Sermon blue, there's Baharoth blue, there's Karandras green, there's Fuegan orange. The only two that might not be is I don't think Mogan Ra has a paint. And I don't think Jane Zar has a paint. But
It's gonna be Morgan Ra Black or Morgan Ra Purple or something.
yeah,
it's like a Dark Reaper, which is
yeah, that's true. Right, Dark Reaper, which is his guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, these look incredible. The Asurman in particular, the Asurman is identical to the original art. That's great.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed doing them. Every single one of them. I just love doing that. So that was and I know that Tim's going to send me all of the Space Marine heroes, like all from Blood Angel, Dark Angel, Space Wolves, and the Ultramarine characters from the 90s to do as a project as well. So I'm really looking forward to doing all those and all their back banners and everything like that. Great.
If you will give them a good home, I have a ton of old metal models that I would love to unload. A ton of old metal models.
Jake, we've got to talk, mate. We've got to talk.
They are literally sitting in a box, and I'm never going to touch them. So,
yeah,
we'll talk about that, mate. Maybe we can do a special project for you, mate.
We'll talk about that after the show. Sounds good. Cool. The next couple that you sent through that I've got here were really interested in me because obviously everything we've seen here has been that sort of recreating that 90s heavy metal style, which makes it super appropriate that your commissioned painting service is Eddie led. So back when beginning of the 90s, the minis were still led. But the next picture that I've got here is of some Stormcast.
Yes. Now, this is a recent commission I did, I think, late last year in December for a new client in Tokyo, actually, who's getting into, I think, Warcry and Age of Sigmar. And he also paints miniatures, but due to his work, he doesn't have much time to do a lot of hobbies. So he said, would you want to do this for me? And I said, yeah, that'd be great, because I don't really get a chance to paint a lot of the new stuff. And I like listen to your show every week as I'm sitting and painting, and there's a lot of terminology that I just don't even know. Like, I don't know a lot about the new stuff a lot. I'm sort of learning as I go. So he sent me these Stormcast Eternal guys, and I really liked the models, and thankfully he's already assembled them and primed them for me, so I can just pull them out of the box and start painting them. He gave me a very particular criteria on how they wanted, or the color schemes and that kind of thing. Yeah. So we went forward with that, and I really enjoyed doing them. I think they're great models. They're really nice to paint, and they don't have a lot of, they've got detail on, but not over the top detail. And they look like Vikings almost. These kind of guys with their pelts and iconography on them and that kind of thing. So they're a really cool project to do.
The new Sigmarites are great. Like it looks like he did some head swaps, but otherwise these models are like right out of the package. Like they look like this. And he's based them up really nice as well. But the models are cool because like there's a lot of texture, like especially on the Stormcast, because it's like they're just wearing plate mail. So they always have like cool loincloths or tabards or, robes or cloaks to kind of give you some more textures to play with. And then the nice thing I like too is there's always a nice chunk of like blank space. So if you really want to do something, like they all have the cool like thigh plates that are gigantic, or there's a handful with shields. So you always have a little bit of space to play with if you wanted some real estate to kind of stretch out and do some artistic work. But the models, they really are nice. There's a kid at our store who is doing modern model kits, but he's painting them in the style of the 90s. He has an Ultramarines army that's all Primaris, and they're all done like an heavy metal Ultramarines army from the 90s. So they have like goblin green bases, and he did the blues rave specifically. Like they look great, and it's very eye catching because the models are, everything is 20% bigger.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Jake, give him a T-shirt, mate. Give him a high five from me, please, for doing that. That's awesome. Great work.
Get him to take some photos and stick them in the group.
Next time. So he shows up. He shows up every time we do a tournament. He shows up, and I'll get some photos and we'll take some photos.
Yeah, please do. That'd be lovely. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, they look awesome. And the next one is these guys here. So again, another shift in style. In painting style, these Eskurgan True Blades for Warcry.
Those are great.
Yeah, because I painted a lot of Rackham miniatures. It's a French company that was around, probably prominent in the early 2000s, maybe 2002, 2004, something like that. And I just was obsessed with the painters there. So Martin and Vincent, and they had this really unique style, and it transformed everything. The entire industry sort of revolved around Rackham, and so painting these models, I really wanted to give, well, similar to the box art, of course, but again, that sort of really dark, atmospheric sort of style. So not like the usual, very vibrant contrast colors, but more, naturalistic sort of colors and shading and blending and all that kind of thing. So it gave me something really a fun outlet to, do something different. This is again for another client in Tokyo here as well, who's sort of starting out Warcry. And so a really fun project. I didn't enjoy assembling the models, I must say.
Right.
That was something
they're a little fiddly. They're a little fiddly.
Well, that big beastie guy,
Yep.
or woman, I should say.
Yeah, the hyena thing.
There was a section on its midriff that I just couldn't work out how to put together. So what I did was basically just jam that small piece in there, got some green stuff, and sort of fix it up that way. I just couldn't, for the life of me, work out how to put it together. I think that was the most difficult part. But
I would think if you used to build Infinity models, I don't think anything GW makes comes even close to Infinity.
Oh, mate, Infinity is driving me nuts. In the end, I just couldn't do it anymore, Jake. My thumbs were so sore, like from putting all those miniatures together. I just said, that's enough. I just had enough. So that's why I went back to the old school, one-piece models. Just clean them up the mold line, put them on the base, spray them, paint them. You're done.
The Infinity stuff is gorgeous, but it's like, you better pin vise everything, because everything is like connected by like a wrist or a tiny little ankle, and you're like, no, I'm not doing this.
Beautiful models, great company, great game, nothing against them, but it's a little bit too much for me these days. But it's getting better. I mean, like all model production now, they're getting better and better these days to make it easy for everybody. But exciting project. Really enjoyed doing this because they're in a sort of Japanese mythology sort of style as well. So really fun to paint.
Just quickly, let me know about the basing. Talk to me about the basing.
Okay, so obviously the Goblin Green, Jake, you would notice that.
Yeah.
So they're done in. I like black rim because of sort of modern figures. I like doing them black rims mostly. The color on top is more like an earthy brown. I just put some very minimal sort of details on there, like little rocks and that kind of thing, and then some tufts of grass. But then with tufts of grass, I just don't like to leave them as tufts. I like to put some, browns on at the base that look like they're part of the soil, part of the earthwork, and then sort of dry brush the tops and that kind of thing, and use pigments as well if I can. Did
you trim the tufts down?
I think I bought them off Amazon, and I think they were like 3 mil high, which I really like. Okay. I've got to admit that I really don't like using tufts of grass because they've got these big things hanging on their base. They're covering the miniature. They're obscuring your work, and I just find to be a real eyesore. So if I can find tufts that are sort of very minimal in size and height, and they just they replicate grass or little outcroppings of vegetation, that's great. If they're sticking up all over the place, I just find them a real eyesore. So that's my little personal thing. Sorry.
No worries.
Everybody does it. Like everybody puts grass tufts on their base, which is good. But I think there's ways.
Man, Josh, you kids with your tufts.
Man, that's it. What happened just putting sand and painting it green? What happened to that? It's perfect. But
fantastic. Hang on a second. Now I have to find somebody with the most egregious tufts.
I'd love to go around your hobby space there, Dave, and see what you got in all those nooks and crannies in those shelves.
He's got all kinds of stuff buried in there.
Yeah, he just sort of just turns around and picks something up. Oh, there you go. Yeah, nice.
And
so
some more there. But I got tufts like that.
Yeah.
But, I very rarely adjust the height of my tufts. It's like trim them down or anything like that.
Sure. I do find it kind of interesting that Josh does it completely different than Jeff does it. So Josh uses very minimal ones and like trims them down and hits them with stains and washes. And Jeff gets the biggest ones he can find and he hides wires in them. So all of his flying guys look like they're flying over like giant like spreads of grass. Like,
right.
They're doing the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, they're like running across the grass. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like we all do it differently. We all approach things differently, which is cool.
Yeah,
definitely good. Matt Ball says Dave reaches into a shelf and pulls out the Holy Grail.
Yeah,
It's in there. We have top men working on it.
that's it.
I think at some point somebody did roll a big crate in here somewhere and put it over the back.
Like
Yeah,
Indiana
I'm
Jones.
not sure where it is. Don't open that crate though.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. But fantastic. So super cool. Thanks for that, Josh. As you know from watching the show, our next step is to have a look at the minis from the Facebook group, our community minis.
What of that? Yeah.
So
I love this thing.
let me just get this
While he's pulling that up, Josh, do you have a copy of Space Hulk?
I don't, mate. Sorry, no. I had the 3rd edition set, and I painted everything in it. I'll have to show you some photos of it, but then I sadly sold it, which I'm sort of regretting now. Because
Alex was posting in the comments earlier. We were talking about like old games that they kind of wish they would bring back into production. It was like Battlefleet Gothic, Space Hulk, Mordheim. So there's a rumor going around that they're going to reprint Space Hulk.
Oh,
okay.
Which I wouldn't be surprised about. Like I have the Blood Angels one from, I don't know, 10 years ago.
2009.
Oh,
Yeah, I have that one. And that's
awesome.
That one's great. I have a whole set, and then a buddy of mine gave me a set of just the Blood Angels out of it. Which I was like, yes, please. Like now I have 2 sets of them.
They're awesome miniatures. Yeah.
Such a fun game.
Yeah, it's fun. It's stressful, but the miniatures are beautiful. The models for the 3rd edition set, especially the dynamic Terminators and the Gene Stealers are great. Sorry, Dave. Yep.
Oh no worries. When you said that, it just again it took me back to like being stressful. It took me back to when I started painting, so like started in the hobby.
Yeah.
I was painting miniatures on commission for one of the guys who came to the store. His eyesight was starting to fail, but he had loads of minis he wanted painted.
Yeah.
And I remember going around to his place one time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you should come and check out this the Space Hulk video game, Space Hulk computer game." So I was like, "Okay, well, I don't really play a lot of computer games, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing." But it starts off with it goes like, "The Emperor has chosen your weapons." It's like, well, that sounds pretty cool. And then you play, and like I was dead within a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
The entire squad wiped out, and it's like, oh yeah, that's because the Emperor has never actually fought Gene Stealers.
That's right. Yeah.
How would he know what he's? I don't want him to choose it. I want somebody else who has fought like.
And there's that great animation of the it's all black, and then like the Gene Stealer comes out of the black, and you're like, oh no, like you knew you were dead.
Yep, exactly. That was me entirely.
So I want to see if you guys remember this. One of my favorite little blurbs of all time is in one of the old White Dwarfs. There's a great picture. I think it's one of Mark Gibbons artworks. I think, and it's a bunch of Terminators like standing on a teleportation platform, and then there's a short story. And the short story is just a page long, and it talks about how like, oh, they all clumped into the room in their Terminator plate, and they stand on the platform, and all of the tech priests are making sure that the proper unguent is applied, and like the right candles are burning, and like everything is tuned just right, and he does the proper dance moves, and then it's like the brother sergeant's like weapons test. So like the first brother like raises his door open, and he's like, ready, brother sergeant. And then the next one's like weapons test, and he like tests the pilot light on his heavy flamer, and he's like, ready, brother sergeant. And then in like the third one, they talk about how he's recruited from a prison world, and he like aims his assault cannon at the chapter badge and spins the barrels, and they're like, which is very disrespectful. But then he's like, ready, brother sergeant. And they're like, but you can see that his armor's the wrong color. And he refuses to get it repainted because every time it's not their Terminator suit. It belongs to another chapter. And every time they cover the original colors, the wearer gets killed. So he's like, I'm not repainting it. So his armor looks all chipped up, and then they like teleport in, and they're just neck deep in Gene Stealers. And I was like, this is so awesome. Like this game is the best.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, here we go. Jumping into the community miniature.
Very nice.
All of these photos are from our Facebook group, the BuildPaintPlay community page. So come along, join us, and submit your miniatures each week, and we will show them and talk about them. So Caleb Wissenbach, Caleb from CK Studios.
Caleb's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's not
pretty
bad.
good.
He's not bad. He's painted a mini or two.
He could have. I think he could have a future in this industry.
Yeah.
He could do it.
Absolutely. But yeah, Caleb's been doing some beautiful work here on this Eldar Combat Patrol. But yeah, awesome work in progress. Obviously,
So good.
I'm a big fan of that that lovely stripe. Working well there.
His red's really good. I want to see a better picture of the warlock in the back there with all like the greens and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Rad.
Yeah, that'll definitely be cool. I'm sure Caleb will post some photos once he's got that rolling. But yeah, beautiful work there, Caleb.
Yeah, very nice. I like that a lot.
Next up, Chris has been painting some
Nundums.
What's that?
Some Nundums.
Some Nundums. Yes. So these are the Paragon war suits. These are the ones with the maces. He's posted a picture of a set with the spears. I think they're spears or swords. Swords. Let's go with swords. Yeah. But,
They're such awesome models. I love their in the Sisters lore right now. I love their commander. Was it
Morgan Val?
Morbin Val?
Yep.
She is awesome. Like her model is great and her lore is fantastic.
Yeah. She is. The only thing I'm not a big fan of with that is that her rules are so good that she turns up in every army.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going back to like 4th edition Warhammer. It's like when every high elf army was led by Teclis.
Yeah. Yeah. Teclis was everywhere. I was like, he is busy.
Yeah. At least the sword of Teclis was certainly everywhere. It's like, yeah, let me just head down to the sword of Teclis shop, get another one. But yeah, Chris has done a great job on these. I love that that very pale gray.
Yeah,
these are awesome.
That's hard to pull off. He did a really good job on that.
I think they're supposed to be the Order Our Lady of the Argent Shroud.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think like I'm not sure, like because they technically have like silver armor.
Yeah.
Or this could be was it Sacred Rose, which I think is white armor?
White armor. Yeah. Could be. Yeah. Teclis was everywhere that Wolverine wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, beautiful work there, Chris.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, those look fantastic.
Definitely check out the other photos in the group. Dave Hummel. Dave Hummel's been working on using some bits to modify this Star Wars transporter. And I think the caption for this photo was just put in the assault ramp. Pardon me, the assault ramp doors, and you see those sort of stacked up along here.
Is he using this as a Thunderhawk, or is this like a Fire Raptor or a Storm Raven? Or
I think it could be like completely his own deal, which is neat. Oh, there we go. Chris Gawker's chimed in and said Sacred Rose.
Yes.
Yep. Cool.
I figured it was one of the two.
Yeah. Matt Ball said, "Do you remember the Harlequin bike canopy?" Patrick Macmillan. Remember an Eldar Warwalker built with that canopy as the faceplate. Yeah. Yep.
I remember that.
I remember both of those things. Definitely cool. Next up, we've got so Jason Dyer has painted up some armored sentinels for his the army he's taking to Adepticon. Last week we saw the Victoria Miniatures Rough Riders. But I am loving these. That kind of deep blue, sort of Payne's gray kind of tone on those.
Yeah, these are awesome. I love the little stubby chainsaw arm.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things in 40K. I think it's ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah, those look they do look super cool, don't they? It is ridiculous.
Does it actually extend past the las cannon? That arm or not? Was it?
Yeah, it's one arm's a las cannon, and then the other one is a little tiny like chainsaw on a T-Rex arm.
But does it extend past the las cannon or not? Maybe.
No,
I don't think so.
That las cannon's going to be sort of just over your head,
right?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to run into that chainsaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not. It's obviously it's an Imperial Guard weapon, so it's not super effective individually. But yeah.
I do love the armored sentinel. The old open top Catachin sentinel, I was always like, this is nuts. Like, I'm just going to throw a grenade into that bucket and kill that guy. Like,
well, I guess we won't talk about it now, but next week maybe we'll talk about the new Horus Heresy Sentinels.
Sure. Yeah.
When it comes to throwing grenades into them. But yeah, looking great, Jason. Nice
These are
work.
great.
Jeff Smith.
The Eagles have come.
Nice. Yeah.
Getting up some Eagles. So these are 2 of the 4 that he's painted recently. He said he couldn't fit all 4 into his photo booth.
Yeah, they're pretty big, and I don't even know if he has. Do they still make Guajir?
Yeah.
Because like he's even bigger than the regular giant eagles.
Yeah.
Oh, really nice. Very natural colors too, and the heads on them look really nice too. Really cool.
Jeff did a good job.
Mm.
Yeah, awesome work. Very nice, Jeff.
Very good.
Thanks for that. Another opportunity to plug the T-shirts because Kat Jackson posted this.
Right.
She's a little bit ill. So Kat is the community manager for the Army Painter.
Mm-hmm.
Our season sponsor. But Jake's on a care package, and so it's been super cool.
Yeah, she said she was sick, so she wore the hoodie like for a week.
Nice. But once again, if you want to pick up the Build Paint Play T-shirts, this is what's on the back. This is what's on the front. You can head down to the link below. Also, check out the Army Painter link down there if you want to do some pre-ordering of the Warpaint's Fanatic range.
Yeah. Somebody must have saw it because we just had a huge order come in. Some guy placed an order for, well, I don't even know how many paints. It's probably like 3 or 4 dozen paints.
Oh, nice.
From all the Fanatic range. And I was gonna message the guy and be like, do you just want to get the mega paint set? It's basically the same price and you get more paints. But I went back and I looked and he picked out very specific paints.
Specific paints, yeah.
So.
That's cool. Awesome. Next up, so Christian Simonson has just recently finished up this Rhino for his Sons of Horus army.
Yeah.
Christian always does such a great job, like with his weathering and his wear. Everything looks like I'm gonna scratch myself on this Rhino and need a tetanus shot. Like it looks like it's old rusted metal.
Yeah.
He does such a good job with it. I think one of my favorite things about this that's very subtle is the interior of the Rhino hatch is a different color. And it took me, I looked at it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, why does it look different? I was like, oh, like nobody ever does that. Like the hatch is always the same color as whatever the tank is.
Yeah.
So I really like that he did that. It gives it like another layer of depth that I was like, oh, that's really clever. It's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah. No, definitely awesome.
Very nice.
And I love that he's got a multi-melter on there, which is fantastic in game. Because you can drive you guys up, bail them out, and then you just become a little bunker with a multi-melter on you.
It makes that Rhino dangerous.
It's
not just an Uber. It's now like it can kill light vehicles.
Uber Rhino, I love it.
Yeah.
And also, Christian's been painting up some Custodes.
Yeah, this is one of the Alaris Terminators.
Yep.
He big.
Yep. Definitely. But yeah, looking good. I love that there's that greenish tinge in that gold as well.
Yeah.
But, beautiful work again, Christian. Oh, great.
Yep.
This week, Martin Orlando joined us in the Facebook group. Martin's on Instagram as the Wandering Prince, and has been doing some spectacular work with like painting armies. But I think this is like basically a selection of faces of his miniatures that he's painted over the last year. I think last year at Nova, he won a Best Painted Army award, and I think he might have won another one at LVO.
These are really cool because they're like dark high elves.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, I really dig. Like the guy on the bottom left is clearly like that's one of the it's one of the mounted horse guys. I can't think of the names.
Silverhelm.
That's the Silverhelm commander, I think, with the wings.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, possibly from the it has that sort of feel, but I think I'm not even sure what army these for. But yeah, Martin does some beautiful work.
Cool. Very, very nice.
Here he is here again with another collection of variety of faces.
You got a Grey Knight in the top right. And then that's the new vampire guy in the middle on the left, and then the top and the bottom in the middle are both Sigma Rights.
Yep.
Yeah, the Stormcast. And then that's the Minotaur guy from the
Mountain Cow.
Yeah, the Mountain Cow from the new not High Elves.
Yeah.
Lumineth Realm Lords.
Yeah, I forget half the new names. Like I can't give him the other day, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking to start like." He goes, "I want to build an army with a lot of tanks," and I went, "Oh, you want to play Imperial Guard?" And somebody went, "What's Imperial Guard?" And I was like, "Astra Militarum." I'm like, "It's Imperial Guard."
There we go. Awesome. Next up. Sorry. Welcome, Martin. Thanks very much for joining us. And
amazing work.
Excellent work from you in the coming weeks and months.
Absolutely.
Next up, Matt Bowles.
These are great. I love these.
Matt's been working on these for his Tale of Four Warlords. Originally, he started off. I can't remember what Matt was working on before. But...
I think he started off doing. He was going to do Necrons, and then he was working on his Tyranids, and then he decided to take his Tyranids and his like these orcs and mash them together. So a bunch of his squigs have wings.
Yep.
Which wings. I love.
Right. So you got some great work going on there, Matt. Yeah, there we go. Started with Tyranids. Yeah. I've just been so taken with the winged squig idea.
Yeah, it's amazing. I started with Tyranids. He started with Tyranids. Sorry.
Yep. So there's another one of these beast snagger boys underway.
I love that weapon. I love that this orc was like, this can opener looks like I can kill somebody with it.
Yeah. It's the joy of orc weapons, isn't it? Awesome. But yeah, great stuff, Matt. Keep it up. You want to see more of those guys painted?
Oh, there he is.
That's it, mate. That's the one.
Yep. When you said it before, I was like, oh, Jake's going to enjoy this later on in the show.
Oh, so good.
But yeah, fantastic. I know that I painted this guy back in like 96, 97. But he stayed in the store. He never left. So I didn't I don't actually own one of those.
Yeah, again, I'm hoping that they're going to release him with the old world coming back out. I'm really hoping that even if they just reprint him, like I would probably get one, but I'm hoping that they do a new like upscaled version of him. But I love this model. His rules were so gross. I used to run him all the time. You could run him as an allied unit. If I played Wood Elves, so you could run him as an allied unit because Bretonnians and Wood Elves could ally, which was insane.
Yeah.
But he was so good. We used to. Do you guys remember? Did you do like Hero Hammer or War or I can't remember what it's called. Games Workshop at a specific event where everybody would buy a hero, and then you would paint up the hero, and then the heroes would fight. You do like one-on-one, like gladiator, like arena matches.
Arena of Death.
Yeah, Arena of Death. So you could either do a hero or a warlord or a champion, and I would always take the Green Knight, and he punched so far above his weight class for the amount of points he was. It was like, you have your giant crazy, whatever demon that like if I charge him, he gets to countercharge me if he's in his front arc. And I was like, I'm near a forest. I'm gonna have my Green Knight teleport through the forest and come up behind you and then charge. And then it was like, I'm gonna use my sword two-handed. So now I have like +2 strength and like -2 to your armor. Like he was so good. The Green Knight was so good.
Yeah. So how many of these have you painted up, Josh?
Just the one, mate. I did it for a painting competition way back in the day when it was first released, actually. But love doing it. Yeah, I think I inverted the colors. So I think the original one is like kind of white barding with green freehand on it, but I didn't mind black with like green freehand.
Oh wow!
I sort of inverted it around. Yeah.
Awesome.
Who sculpted this one? This model is great.
I think Michael Perry.
Yeah. Michael Perry.
The horse head is probably the best part of this model. Like that is such a great, like the chamfron with like the green like cresting and everything and the plates.
Yep.
Yeah, this model is fantastic.
So Patrick's going to be working on that soon. We're super excited to see what Patrick does with it.
Yeah, Patrick, definitely post that. I'm excited.
If you want to know what Patrick's setup looks like, here we go. He's working on some arcoflagellants for his Sisters of Battle at the moment.
Right.
But,
See, Patrick gets it. See in the back there, up above the monitor, microset.
Yeah.
Oh,
See
yeah.
him right there.
Very good.
Excellent. Nice stuff. Actually, so 3 weeks' time, Patrick is going to be joining us as a guest. Patrick runs Bombshell Miniatures. Patrick's been sculpting for an incredibly long time. We'll be talking with him about sculpting and also the transition between traditional sculpting and digital sculpting, which will be a lot of fun to do.
That'd be great.
More about that.
I'll have to ask him about his little paint mixer thing. I've never used one of those, but I've been thinking about it.
Oh, the Vortex Mixer? Yeah, definitely. Ross Manila posted a couple of photos. So this is one of the Cruel Boys characters from the Dominion box set, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Done a great job there. Scare shields, I think they're called. Is that right?
Yeah, they're so cool. I love the idea behind them.
Yeah.
They talk about like all the goblins paint them like big, bright, garish colors. And then when they come through to get you at night, all you can see is like these crazy giant, like floating, scary faces coming towards you.
Yeah.
I love that he painted this thing's mount too to look like an albino rat, like it's all gross and like pale.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I love that that sort of the pale blue for the shields. Something you don't
awesome.
See a lot. And Ross has also painted up, been working on some Stark Sworn Swords for A Song of Ice and Fire.
Nice.
Great models.
Well,
That's another game. If you want to paint up, like those models paint up so easy.
They do. Yep.
Do a nice base coat, couple of washes. Like there's so much like cool texture and like stuff for the paint to grab.
Yep. They're great models.
Yeah, definitely beautiful. Next up, Scott. So I think we saw a work in progress of this a couple of weeks ago. Scott has finished this.
Scott, I love robots. Like this is awesome. Like I love that giant robot. It's so good.
Is this Infinity?
I think he said it was a 3D print that he got from somebody. Scott, post in the thing who you got this from. I forget.
That's cool.
But the model at the front, I think, is hassle-free.
Right.
Could be wrong, but
yeah.
I love the work, the sort of that scratchy volumetric approach. And this model's just got the areas for it in spades.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. Awesome. Come on, Scott, let us know. It is in the description in the photos in the Facebook group.
Scott, he goes, you got to get a vortex mixer. You can't just be flailing paints around with your arms like one of the pores. Gross. Oh, he said he got it off Etsy. It was super cheap. The guy is from Hassle Free.
Right. Yep. Right. Awesome.
Cool.
That's really cool though.
But yeah, it looks great stuff.
It does look like an Infinity, like one of their, what is it, like their tags. It looks like one of the tags from Infinity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful work.
I mean, it's probably, I don't know what the scale is, but you could probably use it as like a proxy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Next up, Stephen Ryder. So we saw the Cyberpunk girl at the back. These are some more models that he's painting up that will be for at the Slow Death Games booth at Adepticon. So these are for I think it's called Wild in the Streets. But yeah, again, looking super cool.
Yeah, very good.
I wonder if he used Dave's trick to use Thunderhawk Blue for blue jeans.
I don't know. It looks like a dark Prussian blue is the base, but
my favorite blue too, actually, dark Prussian blue.
Dark Prussian blue, yeah,
love it.
Good. But yeah, looking great, Steve. And this was a classic old miniature from the 80s. I'd never seen this model before until Stephen posted it, but definitely going.
I do not like this model.
Excellent. But yeah, go and check it out. There's lots of commentary on that mini in the group. Okay, get that, and we come back to us. Cool. Okay, so we have been going for 2 hours. We've talked about a whole bunch of things. One of the things we didn't talk about that I originally said we were going to talk about was Warhammer: The Old World. but
Let's save it for next week. We'll save it for next week.
we can save it for another time. We did talk about lots of cool stuff that Josh has been up to, and that the Crown of Command is focused on. Josh has been chatting to a bunch of folks from your Crown of Command community about the old world. 30-second general feeling, general opinions. Go for it.
Okay, well, look, first I'm just really excited, first and foremost, that, you know, everyone's excited about it. Everyone picked up the rule book. I think it took GW by surprise, the volume of people, you know, lining up outside Warhammer World to pick up their first copies, the orders they got initially. And I'm just excited for anybody who's getting into the hobby for the first time, or people coming back into Warhammer, you know, dusting off their miniatures or painting up their new armies, excited about the made-to-order stuff that's coming up with, like the Marauder Giant, the old Marauder Wyvern, and Orc on Wyvern, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of buzz and activity around in the community at the moment, which is great to see. I've not personally played the game as yet. I will give it a go to give my personal feelings about the game and if things that I do like and maybe not so keen on or whatever. But initially, I'm just happy that people are actually playing Warhammer again. So that's all I really wanted to say at this point in time. And maybe I can give my thoughts later once I've played the game and give you more of a, you know, a better idea of how I feel about it.
Yep. No, that'd be cool. Definitely good. But no, thank you. Yeah, I agree. I am excited that it's back, kind of thing, but also that so many people are excited about it, and a lot of people are experiencing it for the first time. So that's a super cool thing too.
They were really clever with it too, where it's for a new community, but also it's to appeal to folks that liked the old Warhammer stuff. Like Dave, you were talking about the two books, The Forces of Fantasy and The Ravening Hordes. That's a deliberate callback to like two of their books from whatever 25 years ago or something. So like I appreciate that it's like when they launched Primaris Marines, right? They're trying to appeal to two communities. Like it's like you're trying to appeal to like a new community that wants to play like more straight up fantasy, and they've heard about Warhammer, but like it's not a thing anymore. And then also people who miss Warhammer.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job of kind of like walking that line without really like upsetting anybody too badly. But yeah, even in our store, like we ordered a bunch of it, and we were like, like how heavy do we want to go? Like, do we want to go nuts on it? And we sold basically everything. I think I have 2 paperbacks of each of the army specific rules. I think I have 2 of the Tomb Kings rule books, and I think I have 2 of the Bretonnian, like the little skinny books. I think that's all I have left. I might have 1 army, but I think we sold it.
Yeah.
We sold everything we ordered. It was crazy.
That's great.
Definitely cool. Awesome. So time for us to wrap up. Josh, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Japan.
No, thank you both. I really appreciate you guys.
Dave, he's huge in Japan. I don't know if you know
that. I had heard that. Huge.
I don't know how. I'm stuck in the countryside, mate. There's no one out here but like rice fields and pigs. So maybe I'm popular amongst the local agricultural community. I don't know. But look, I'm really happy that you guys wanted to ask me on and talk about especially Oldhammer or, the new Warhammer. And I really look forward to having you guys onto the Crown of the Command podcasts so that we can, introduce you to our community who maybe don't know about you, but of course they know Dave, but they haven't met Jake before. And that way they can come back and, start watching your live streams and getting involved with your community, which would be great. So look forward to that, guys.
Definitely super cool.
Thank you.
So thanks for everybody in the chat who's joined us. Thanks for Lee. It's a great show. Tune in again, guys. I'm excited to pick up Old World. Last Fantasy Battle Army I started was Beastman back in the late 90s. Never got finished, so I'm starting that again. Very cool. And one thing I will say as well. Next week we have Reese Knight, who is the community manager for My Mini Factory. So we will be doing a lot of talking about 3D printing.
Awesome.
Which should be super cool. I'm very excited about that. And then in 2 weeks' time, we're back with Tale of 4 Warlords. You can see where Jake gets all of those characters painted up.
Yeah, come on, Jake, you got to paint those now.
Yeah, the problem is I'm not Dave. Like Dave paints Dave paints so much so fast, and I don't. So I'm hoping I can get everything done for Adepticon. That's my goal.
Yep.
Well, there is a guy in Japan who paints for a living, so you could contact him and he could paint them for you.
But again, like
Maybe
by the
cheating,
time I
but
get it built in Prime and mailed to you, and then you paint it and mail it back,
I'll just send
I'm like,
photos, mate. That's what I'll send photos.
Then you stick them to some cardboard, cut them out, and
yeah, perfect.
it'll be fine. It'll be all good. Awesome. Cool. Thanks very much, Josh. Thanks very much to everybody who joined us tonight.
Yep. Everybody. Thank you everybody in the chat, and thank you very, very much for your kind comments. Sorry I haven't replied to those, but yeah, thank you for putting up with me for 2 hours, and I hope I didn't bore you to death with all my 90s nostalgia. So, but thank you again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
It was a pleasure. Dave, we all set?
We are all set. So hang out for a minute, Josh. I'll do the same thing as we did earlier at the start. But
no problem.
But at the end.
Well, thanks everybody again. Like Dave said, thank you very much to Josh. Thank you for everybody for joining us. If you guys need anything, use any of the links below, or you can. Whoa, what happened? Why am I out of focus? What's going on? There we go. Use any of the links below. You can also post and message stuff on our Facebook group. If anybody has any questions about painting, you can message us on there. I'm sure you can message Josh as well. We have a lot of great painters in the community, so even if one of us don't get back to you, my favorite thing about the community right now is people will post stuff, and then other members of the community will immediately jump in and kind of chime in. And we're really fortunate that we have a very positive, sort of encouraging community, which is something that we strive for. So you can get a lot of great advice there. But otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click all the bells and whistles and like and subscribe and tell your friends about us. And as always, do not forget to build, paint, play.
Very good. Sounded good.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.